That is outrageous. Sheffield United, if they do get into the Europa League, continue to build. Good afternoon, guys, and welcome back to another episode of TFW. It's Monday afternoon, which means it's dominated by your opinions and your questions on the weekend's football. First off, Pilai99 has said, do you think Lazio will win Serie A? Maybe, potentially. The likes of Immobile, Luis Alberto, Strakosha, Leva, Casado, Correa, blah, 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 and others have been good and are in consistent form. It's going to sound so ridiculous because if only the same team won it over and over again, then like Juventus, they'd be the ones who could win it. But because Lazio haven't won it in so long, and because they're not experienced to being that close to the top, I can't see them going on to win it. I know it just sounds utterly ridiculous because it's football. Anything can happen. Leicester proved that a few years ago, and this season to some extent. I just don't think they've got enough to get over the line. If they do, I'll be amazed, but there's winners who have just sort of had the confidence of winning bred through them in the last few years in the Juventus squad, in the Inter Milan squad as well. Not them, Inter Milan themselves have won anything, but especially this transfer window, they've brought in players who have, and I really think they're in a better position. Nothing against Lazio, and if they're going to win it, fantastic, good for them. They are in consistent form. I'm just not quite sure it's so possible, and for that reason, I've also answered username McTaken's question, why Lazio aren't considered as serious title contenders even though they're 1 point behind first place. For all those reasons, even though, yeah, they're not in any European competition heading into the second half of the season, I don't believe they're still in the Italian Cup. I just can't see it. It'd be a big shock. It'd be cool if they did, but yeah, I can't really see it happening, despite the fact that Immobile is on absolute fire, although he hasn't scored in his last two. Josh Loveday has said, why did Manchester United sell Lukaku, a proven goal scorer who once again scored in the Milan derby when they were already struggling for firepower? Worst decision this season. Damn it, that's a big statement. You almost can't look at Lukaku once he's done all this stuff at Inter Milan in hindsight, because when United sold him for, 60, 70 million last summer, that was a pretty good deal. Getting your money back on someone who you'd already paid big money to Everton for, and who didn't exactly light up the league or wasn't the best player for the last few seasons at Manchester United. Last year, let's not forget United, everyone was talking about him being overweight, his touch was poor, he got absolutely slammed by fans, everyone in the media, even at stages by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He wasn't on great form. So to get a hell of a load of money for him looks like a good deal. Yes, now we're 6 months later and he's fired Inter Milan to the top of the league, you can say it's a bad deal. But I think that's only in hindsight. But yeah, I guess it kind of just goes to show that a certain player needs to play in a certain tactic, under a certain manager, and massive props goes to Antonio Conte as well with the whole Lukaku thing. Addy V has come in. Addy, I'm not sure if you're a Dortmund fan, but for Christ's sakes, he says, can someone at Dortmund please learn how to defend? Or maybe spend some money on a half-decent defender? How do you score 3 goals and still lose? There's no way Dortmund are challenging for the Bundesliga with that defence, and PSG will tear them to shreds if they keep defending like that. This actually, by the way, has the potential to be one of the best Champions League ties, because none of the team can defend, and both are brilliant at scoring. I mean, Brandt and Royce are injured for a few weeks, which hampers Dortmund ever so slightly, and I think PSG will go through. But yeah, you're right. They're scoring 3 goals in the Bundesliga. I believe they've done 3 or more in the last 4 Bundesliga games. And then to still not win, that's pretty shocking. And especially, no disrespect to the rest of the Bundesliga, when you're coming up against a mixed bag of opponents. When you're coming up against like Neymar, Mbappe, Cavani, Icardi, Di Maria, God, they're going to rip Dortmund to shreds. If they don't, feel free to let me know in the comments section how that one went. But yeah, I think you're right. I think PSG really will tear them to shreds. And why Dortmund didn't bring in another defender, I have no idea. Hummels was a good signing. Alongside this, Diallo obviously went to PSG a few seasons, maybe it was last summer, season before that. Yeah, and Akanji seems like they're not too overly pleased with him. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Although it looks like Haaland was a brilliant signing, maybe it wasn't more necessary to bring in the defender first. Lotia Sama said, if Sheffield United get to the Champions League, do you think they're going to revamp their squad, buy some players for a few positions, or stick to their roots? This is underrated as a difficulty facing a manager in a club. When you massively succeed or overachieve, do you then give props to the ones who got you there? I asked the same question about Liverpool and Chelsea in the FA Cup. Did Liverpool stick with their kids that have got them to the 5th round against Chelsea? Or do they just sack them off now there and bring in the big guns? Leicester, when they won the title, they didn't exactly build on it and bring in massive big name players to complement the fact they were now in the Champions League, and they really struggled for it the following season. There's a real balance to get. Personally, I think as Sheffield United, if they were somehow even to get into the Europa League top 6, well, the Champions League is a bit far for me, but Europa League top 6, add a few more, continue to build. This shouldn't be top 6 next season, top 4 next season Premier League. That can't be the end game for Sheffield United. They'll know historically there are so many big clubs who have done that and then gone down after spending too much money. QPR being a prime example of this, with big players on big wages bought in for big money. Sheffield United, if they do get into the Europa League, continue to build, bring in good young players, bring in players that will fit the squad as a whole. Try not to sell too many of your stars. Then continue to build. If next season you drop out and you finish mid-table, that's all right. As long as you're better in the long run, absolutely fine. I think going for broke, bringing in absolutely everybody and then going for top 4 after reaching top 6 is a surefire way to see yourself down and in a lot of trouble. Callum Music has said, after recent performances, who should be England's number 1? Pickford made a few mistakes recently and Pope and Henderson having great seasons. This goes along with what I've just said about Sheffield United. Dean Henderson is class. What a keeper. I'm glad he's getting game time because, there's no disrespect to be sat behind David De Gea at United. I don't expect Henderson to take the gloves off De Gea, but he needs to play football and he's shown this season. I see no reason why he won't be number 1 for England. If Pickford, as rightly said, makes a few mistakes between now and the end of the season, continues to make more, Pope as well, although naturally Sheffield United having a better season than Burnley are, I don't see any reason why Henderson won't be England's number 1. Fair play to him. Duke Tajuddin has said, do you think Leipzig will be able to hold on to Timo Werner? This actually, I feel like this links back to what I said about Lazio earlier, not having like the sort of pedigree and the winning mentality around the club, certainly within the last few years. This is the same thing with Timo Werner. If Leipzig go on to win the Bundesliga, he's still going to leave to a bigger club, maybe even Bayern Munich. If Leipzig finish first, Dortmund second, Bayern Munich third, you'd be like, why would you leave from the champions to third place? Because it's Bayern, because the history's there, because the chance of trophies over the next few years are so much bigger. It's the same thing with, even if he moved to, Real Madrid. Let's say Barca won La Liga. I think Real Madrid are in a better position to win La Liga. Let's just say, for example, Barca won it, Atletico Madrid came in second, or Getafe, who are having a fantastic season. Werner would still go over to Real Madrid even if they didn't win anything because that's the club that's just bigger. And I think that being able to hold on to him, there's nothing that Leipzig can do. The bigger clubs will offer more money, if not the same amount of money that Leipzig can. More history, more chance of winning trophies. He's done his bit at Leipzig. I don't think they can hang on to him. That's nothing against Leipzig, who've done really well to keep him and playing some fantastic football. I just think Timo Werner, sooner or later, will leave. And lastly but not least, Big Balaz has come out with an unbelievable one. This is why I want to hear all of your thoughts and opinions every Sunday night. I think if given a move to a big club, Declan Rice will become the best central defensive midfielder in the world by 2025. That is outrageous. I've no doubt Declan Rice is a good player, but my word, have you seen him play, especially if he's holding the midfield together for West Ham, who are currently a few points above the relegation zone, the serious questions have got to be asked. I think he doesn't bring anything extra to the England team. There are players who can do his job. He's a good midfielder. Don't get me wrong, he's a good midfielder. The thought that United, even as ridiculous as they are in the transfer window, would spend 70 to 80 million on him, I think is very far-fetched. Does he need to get a move? If West Ham go down, yes. End of conversation, needs to get a move. If they stay up, it depends where the club is going. If they're bringing young, exciting players and West Ham are sort of ushering in a new era, fine. But Declan Rice is not going to be the best defensive midfielder in the world by 2025. Even still by then, Fernandinho will be 40 and he'd probably still be better. Anyway, on that ridiculous note, that is the end of TFW. Of course, as I mentioned, let me know your thoughts every Sunday night. Try to keep it about the weekend's football, so not really any quick fires or talk about Ballon d'Ors or who's winning Serie A in 10 years' time. Remember, stick to the weekend's football. Let me know your thoughts in the community post on YouTube every Sunday night. And until next time, I will see you guys later.